This is Paul. This is the Rant Supply Podcast. This is going to be a quick rant. I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes here. Just because this is something that I've talked about doing for a while with some friends and people I care about. I always get strange ideas. So this is going to be the Rant Supply Podcast Steal This Idea edition. These are things that I would love to see people do. For various reasons. Number one, just everyone could use a better way to make money. Number two, finding ways for people to make money for what efforts they're willing to put forward that also benefit other people is about as it. That's a really good thing to shoot for everyone whenever you have ideas. Number three, I'm just never going to do a lot of this stuff. There's stuff that I don't have the passion for, I don't have the patience for, and I don't have the expertise for. I do what I do. I try to learn all the time. I love to learn. But I'm also a bit of a space cadet. My mind goes in very specific directions, and it does it whenever it wants to. And I've found that there are things that I'm very, very interested in life. There are things that I love to learn about and I love to do. And it's not about being disinterested in other things. It's about there's only so much time, and you can really only you can only have so many damn hobbies. So here's a few things. All right, number one, the drive-up vending machine. Now this is something that I do believe you can make a killing with. And when I say the drive-up vending machine, I mean so these things would be wherever you have a roadway, maybe you build a canopy there, and these would be like a conveyor-driven large drive-up vendor. And there's one specific detail here that I think is important, just for security's sake, so that these things are, because I actually had considered what would it take to build this. Do I think it's realistically profitable? And I do think that it'd be very profitable. But a few details about it. One, hardened structure, steel preferably. Two, the bulk of any machine would have to be underground. And three, more importantly, the access to it would have to be minimal. That goes along with it being underground. It goes along with it being steel. You want these things to be as unpleasant a target for anyone who would attempt to, do any criminal activity, most likely theft or whatever, fraud. But and there are certain things, there are certain items that people just need. There are certain items that people want to go out, they don't want to go shopping. It's let's say it's 2:00 in the morning and they're up and they're in their pajamas and they don't want to get dressed, they don't want to go shopping. Everyone has some degree of a personal image that they would like to live up to or maintain. So, unless you enjoy going out in pajama pants, which honestly sometimes just for the comic value it can be fun. But I think a lot of people do not enjoy that. They want to be, when people see them, they want to be viewed in a certain way. They try to convey a degree of professionalism or whatever. So this is something that is not addressed in a lot of places. New York City, this stuff doesn't really apply in a place like New York City, which is a rarity on earth, where you can get anything at any time. And the reason is because you've got a very limited location that would be necessary to cover for maximum potential customers, potential users. So in New York City, you can get most things. I hear, I've never been there, but I'm told you can get most things delivered. I think that's fantastic. This is for the people who live in areas where delivery of certain things is just untenable, intenable, whatever the word is, something tenable. But things like, say, milk, butter, toilet paper, diapers, things that when you need them at that moment. For me, it's pop. And I don't think that you could really bring the the cigarette vending machines back, although that would be another thing that people would, any time of day or night, smoker, most smokers know what I'm talking about. Any time of day or night, if you're out of smokes, okay, well, time to go, because it is, it is a strong addiction. But I'm talking about those things that just for the nature of life are common to be something that would require that you go out and purchase it. So what my idea is just, like I said, drive up vending machines that no windows to view items. I would recommend pictures only, because then you can have an almost wholly steel enclosed structure, reducing, minimizing the risk of people breaking into it and stealing stuff. Plus, obviously, I would recommend surveillance and everything, but it is, other than to maintain stocks and ensure that mechanically it's working appropriately, this would be a hands-off effort. It would require some, electricity to run, but I think that it would be well received. It's just, it would have to be specific to items that would be common for people to go out for, and I would say particularly those items that would rush you to go out. Diapers, I think, is that was one thing, when my daughter was younger. If you were almost out of diapers, you're going now, because what's the alternative? I don't like this old shirt so much anyway. So that's one. There's idea number one, and I would say that, I hope somebody does that, because I personally would be a user. Idea number two is along the same lines, but this is delivery. By the way, steal these ideas, take them, do something with them. I think that you could benefit people with them. But I don't want corporations, taking free ideas, because I think that the fundamental difference, the fundamental superiority of a sole proprietorship or an LLC over a corporation is that a corporation has a legal requirement to maximize profits as their primary driver above everything else. And that we live in a world where morality is ignored enough, and I'm not saying, Christian morality, Jewish morality, Islam, I don't care. There are just certain things that the average person with any shred of decency put above the almighty dollar. Human life, for example. If you don't put life above money, probably should reprioritize. But anyway, so that's there's that. Second thing is it would be, I think, fundamentally best utilized in an app, and I think that the Uber structure is probably the most well-known platform that I could explain this with fairly easily. The Uber structure is fantastic in that it offers a lot of really interesting benefits to it. One, obviously, it's a people helping people campaign. I think that Uber and Lyft and these things are, I think they're probably they're setting themselves up to implode, in my opinion, because of the profit structure. My belief is that these apps, these centralized companies that are looking for a more crowd-centric approach to things, which I think is the best approach to things, put your local, I shouldn't say put your local businesses out of business. That's wrong. But give them some competition. If there's something you want to do with your life, do it. I'm no stranger to the fear of failure. In fact, I'm no stranger to failure. But it comes down to, eventually in life, everyone, I think, gets to a point where they regret the fear that they had in their life that prevented them from doing things that, they otherwise would have done. I don't have any regrets for the most part about my life. I regret treating people in certain ways, things like that. But what I regret more importantly is the risks that I didn't take, the things that I didn't do. So, anyway, that being said, this idea is take the Uber platform, like I said, the fact that you see a picture of your driver and that you're able to track your driver and know where they're at in relation to you provides a feeling of security. Not just convenience, not just usability, security. Because you can see the person who's coming for you. You're not going to be surprised by this person. No one's going to be no one is likely going to be trying to mislead you by saying they're your driver and they're really not. Not that this is a realistic concern in any way. But there's that, and then there's, for people who even do not have a very thorough understanding of the internet and networking and GPS and everything like that, knowing that you can see a picture of the person who's supposed to be picking you up and where they're at in relation to you, I think there's a pretty clear message there that if anything should happen, they're going to approach this person about that because there's a security concern, because you're taking a risk by giving this person control temporarily, and they're in control of where you're going. You may tell them where you're going, but if you're in the back seat and someone else is in the front seat and they're driving, I promise you, if you're going 60 miles an hour, they're in control of where you're going. You're not. So that's it. The security of knowing that every movement is being tracked, I think that appeals to a lot of people. Doesn't look like I'm going to make the 15-minute mark, but maybe we'll shoot for 20. We'll see. But so I'll use that same basic structure, but an app that is for impulse buying, essentially. And the architecture of it, of the actual, how the transaction is facilitated would be fairly simple. If you had this app and you wanted to participate, and you were say an approved purchaser, we'll go that route, because I think that most of these apps, regardless of what it is, you should at the very least be submitting to a background check. I think that's only